Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is youth violence and economic well-being. And we have to talk about youth violence and economic well-being, Mr. LGreenlee, who is the president of Galaxy Star Drug Prevention Program. And with Mr. Greenlee is Mr. Willie Sims, a community organizer, and he is also known as Big Fella. And of course, let me welcome you, Mr. Sims, as well as you, Mr. Greenlee, to our show this morning.
Yes.
And to tell both of you how very delighted we are, because I think that we have the makings of a very, very good and informative show dealing with a very prevalent problem all over today, and that is youth violence and economic well-being.
Amen.
Let's have you to start us off by giving us some information about your background, your education, and whatnot, Greenlee, and then Sims will do the same, and then we'll get into this whole issue of youth violence.
Well, you know, I'm LGreenlee, of course, and I've got an organization called Galaxy Star, and we are not just now into the drug program. And my background states that I'm qualified because I am one of those who was kicked to the curb, not because of my education, but because of my economic growing. I mean, I'm just there. That's where I was. That's where I've grown up. And I'm the prime example that wherever a man grows up, if given the proper resources, he can come out of it. He can come out of it. I didn't get my GED till I went to prison. But I read 3 to 5 books every month. How can that be? You see, I was a menace to society, but now I'm healing that same environment. So we have to deal with these young boys on this whole issue of why is this violence? I mean, do a person wake up in the morning and says they're going to be a killer? Do a person wake up in the morning and says they're going to sell drugs? What drives us? So that's my whole background, and that's why I'm so into what I do.
Very good. And of course, Mr. Big Fella, a.k.a. Mr. Sims, why don't you give us some information in reference to your situation?
Well, like you said, sir, it's nice to meet you too. My name is Big Fella. I have a cooking show, Cooking with Big Fella, the Hustling Gourmet. Also, I'm a recording artist, have recording deals and with big labels and things like that. And I'm kind of in the same boat on a different side. I never been to jail, nothing like that, but I'm from the same bottom of the tree like everybody else. And if I could do the thing, and I haven't really had I don't look at it as success. It's still a ladder I'm always climbing. But I feel like if I could do the little stuff that I've done, anybody could do it. It's just providing the right tools and giving somebody, people believed in me and wanted to see me win. So I'm still kind of a product of that. I'm still trying to fulfill all those people that told me they thought I was going to do something in my life. I'm trying to live up to that. And no money is a recipe for disaster, but if you put a little bit of extra in it, you can really make something.
Very good. And of course, Ms. Greenlee, looking at youth violence and economic well-being, what are some of the things that you can tell our audience? And I think that anything you might say we've heard 1,000 times before from other folks and all over, and except, but say it in your way that would indicate that there is some kind of hope if we might be able to do something with the economic well-beings of these young people, black, white, Hispanic, or whatever they might be, that we might be able to have reduce this violence that we find all over the world, but especially all over the United States of America.
First of all, we need to quit spending so much time on the problem. If we don't know these problems by now, somebody's been doing a lot of research for nothing. We need to start having solution meetings, strictly about the solutions. If we do that, then people come in. See, what happens is people my age don't want to invite younger folk in on these discussions. We think that we have all the answers for the future, but we refuse to remember the time when our people said the same thing about us and didn't invite us. So we got to get to a whole nother level. Let me explain this to you. I don't care what nobody said 1,000 times. Until we put enough resources and enough money in certain areas, we're going to be talking about the same thing in the next 50 years. Bottom line.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
And of course, Mr. Sims, we're getting ready for our first commercial break. in about a half a minute. And when we come back, we want to pick up at that. We want to give you an opportunity to give some introductory statements in reference to background education, that kind of thing, and then to pick up in terms of how your view in terms of what some of these young people need to do in terms of their economic well-being. Because I think you've been involved, as you've indicated, with a very, very successful cooking show now, and you see yourself as having moved up, and et cetera. Yeah. And I think others see you as having moved up. And so what you have to say is also important. And then we'll be able to talk after this segment in some real term in terms of dealing with this. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.